It started with a name the world once adored, Lizzo, the Grammy-winning superstar who built an empire on self-love, body positivity, and empowerment. But in August 2023, everything changed. What began as whispers online suddenly exploded into global headlines. 3 of Lizzo's former dancers filed a bombshell lawsuit accusing her of the very things she preached against.
Not Lizzo! And not it being confirmed by her former creative director. Lizzo has been sued by 3 of her former dancers for alleged sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment.
Allegations of harassment, discrimination, and humiliation shook her carefully crafted image to its core. The same woman who told millions to love themselves was now being accused of body-shaming her own team.
ET obtained the 38-page lawsuit filed today. Among the claims, Lizzo, who is known for embracing body positivity, weight-shamed the dancers.
Fans were stunned. How could the icon of confidence, the one who told people to embrace their truth, be at the center of such disturbing claims? Was the positivity just a facade, or had fame changed her into something darker? As social media erupted, Lizzo's lawsuit trended worldwide. The internet split in two, with some defending their idol and others calling her out as a hypocrite. But beneath the headlines, the real story was even more shocking. A backstage world of fear, pressure, and betrayal that no one expected from a star who stood for joy. Because this wasn't just another celebrity scandal. This was the dark truth behind one of music's most celebrated tours. But to understand how it all unraveled, we have to go back to where it began, when Lizzo's message inspired millions, before it all came crashing down.
When I was a little girl, all I wanted to see was me in the media. Someone fat like me, black like me, beautiful like me.
Nobody speaks up because they're so scared for their jobs. I was terrified for my job.
Before the controversy, Lizzo was untouchable, a true symbol of joy, power, and freedom. She wasn't just another pop star, she was a movement. Her rise from sleeping in her car to winning Grammys was the stuff of modern legend. With hits like Truth Hurts and Good as Hell, Lizzo became the face of body positivity, self-acceptance, and individuality. She told her fans to love themselves no matter what, and millions listened. Her image was carefully built. The bubbly personality, the unapologetic confidence, the message that everyone deserved to feel beautiful. She was invited to the White House, hosted major award shows, and even launched her own shapewear line, Yeetie, promoting self-love for every body type. For years, Lizzo represented everything right about pop culture, inclusive, fun, and authentic. But behind the scenes, cracks were already forming. Rumors about tension on tour began to surface quietly online. A few dancers had reportedly left mid-tour, but nobody thought much of it. Lizzo's team always brushed it off as creative differences. Still, for those who worked closest to her, something wasn't adding up. Then, in August 2023, everything changed. 3 of Lizzo's former backup dancers filed a lawsuit that sent shockwaves through the industry. The accusations? Sexual harassment, discrimination, and body shaming. The very same things Lizzo had publicly fought against. For fans, it was unthinkable. The woman who once stood for empowerment was now being accused of hypocrisy and cruelty. Overnight, her image flipped from a symbol of confidence to a case study in celebrity downfall. The media frenzy was instant. Every outlet from NBC to People to The Guardian ran the story. But as the lawsuit unfolded, fans started asking a bigger question. Was this the real Lizzo all along? And once the details of that lawsuit came out, the picture got even darker.
So much loving energy into the world. Sometimes I feel like the world just don't love me back.
The headlines were explosive. Lizzo sued for harassment, discrimination, and creating a hostile work environment. It didn't sound real. Not for someone who built her entire career on spreading love and empowerment. The lawsuit, filed by former dancers Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noel Rodriguez, painted a completely different picture of the star the world thought they knew. According to their claims, working for Lizzo was not the dream job fans imagined. Instead, it was a nightmare of humiliation, fear, and control. The dancers accused Lizzo and her team of crossing every line imaginable. In one shocking claim, they said Lizzo allegedly pressured them to take part in adult-themed performances while on tour in Amsterdam, even encouraging them to touch nude performers at a local club. What was meant to be a fun team night out turned into something deeply uncomfortable. But that wasn't the only disturbing accusation. The lawsuit described a moment where Lizzo allegedly called out a dancer for gaining weight, a move that shocked everyone, considering her body-positive brand. Others said they were forced to re-audition for their jobs in front of the entire crew after being accused of not giving enough energy. Some dancers were reportedly so embarrassed they broke down crying. crying. The lawsuit also accused Lizzo's dance captain, Charlene Quigley, of inappropriate and overly religious behavior, including sharing personal beliefs and making other team members uncomfortable. The dancers claimed that when they spoke up about it, their concerns were dismissed or ignored completely. For fans, these allegations felt like betrayal. Lizzo, who inspired people to love themselves, was now accused of body shaming and abusing power behind the scenes. Overnight, her world turned upside down, and the internet exploded with debates, think pieces, and disbelief. But the more people learned about what happened on that tour, the darker the story became.
Doing this shit for the big black women in the future who just want to live their lives without being scrutinized or put into boxes. I'm not gonna do what y'all want me to do ever. So get used to it.
Once the lawsuit went public, former crew members started coming forward with stories that painted an even uglier picture of what was happening behind closed doors. Suddenly, the Good as Hell tour didn't seem so good after all. According to court documents and multiple interviews, the dancers claimed the atmosphere on Lizzo's tour was toxic. They described being overworked, under constant scrutiny, and living in fear of being fired for even the smallest mistake. Every rehearsal, they said, felt like walking on eggshells because Lizzo's mood could change in an instant. One of the most disturbing incidents allegedly happened during a tour stop in Europe. Dancers said Lizzo invited the crew out for what she called a team bonding night, but instead of a normal group outing, it turned into an uncomfortable adult club experience. The dancers claim Lizzo pressured them to interact with performers, including touching intimate parts of their bodies, even when some clearly didn't want to. Another dancer described being publicly humiliated after gaining weight. Despite Lizzo's image as a champion of body positivity, the lawsuit claims she singled out one of her dancers for putting on a few pounds and accused her of letting herself go. That same dancer later broke down in tears during a meeting, saying she felt betrayed by someone she thought stood for self-acceptance. To make matters worse, the dancers alleged they were often trapped in tense, invasive situations, like being forced to sit through long, emotional meetings where Lizzo demanded loyalty and obedience. Some said it felt less like a tour and more like a cult-like environment where everyone was too scared to speak up. Former employees described burnout, paranoia, and the constant feeling that their jobs could disappear at any moment. By the time the lawsuit was filed, several team members had already quit, saying the environment had broken them down mentally. Fans couldn't believe it. How could the same woman who sang about self-love create such chaos behind the scenes? But when the public reaction hit, things went from shocking to explosive.
Is anything that I can do in my power to ensure that dancers or singers or whoever decides to work with her don't have to go through that same experience? I'm gonna do that.
As the lawsuit unfolded, it became clear that the controversy went far beyond Lizzo herself. It exposed a culture of toxic leadership that reportedly spread through her entire tour. One of the most shocking figures named in the complaint was Charlene Quigley, Lizzo's longtime dance captain. Once seen as a mentor and spiritual guide for the crew, Quigley was accused of creating an environment that blurred professional and personal boundaries. According to the dancers' claims, Quigley allegedly preached religion on the job, often forcing her personal beliefs on others. She reportedly shamed performers who didn't share her views and even discussed explicit sexual topics, including her own private habits, in inappropriate settings. Several dancers said she became obsessed with one member's virginity, repeatedly bringing it up in interviews and on social media, despite being asked to stop. When coworkers tried to intervene, Quigley allegedly dismissed them, saying, "No job and no one will stop me from talking about the Lord." This behavior, they claimed, made the workplace deeply uncomfortable and unprofessional. But the troubling claims didn't end there. The lawsuit also accused Lizzo's tour management, Big Girl Big Touring, BGBT, of racial bias. Though Lizzo publicly celebrates diversity, her dancers said the reality behind the scenes told a different story. The management team, described as entirely white Europeans, allegedly treated black dancers more harshly, labeling them lazy or unprofessional, while giving non-black dancers leniency. The plaintiffs said they were even underpaid compared to others and spoken to in disrespectful tones that singled them out for their race and body type. The combination of racial discrimination, body shaming, and religious overreach painted a devastating picture. What was supposed to be a safe, empowering space for women of color turned into a workplace filled with tension and fear. For many, the hypocrisy was hard to ignore. How could a global star known for inclusivity and body positivity allow this to happen under her watch? But once the story hit the public, the fallout was immediate and brutal.
Those body shaming allegations, though, are the ones that are getting the most headlines, of course, because Lizzo is just known for being such a beacon for so many people.
When the news of Lizzo's lawsuit hit the public, the reaction was instant and explosive. Social media went into overdrive. Fans who once saw Lizzo as the symbol of self-love and empowerment suddenly didn't know what to believe. The idea that the About Damn Time singer, a global advocate for body positivity, could be accused of mistreating her dancers felt like a betrayal. Hashtags like Lizzo lawsuit and Good as Hell no more flooded Twitter, and entertainment entertainment outlets called it a fall from grace. Many couldn't reconcile her message of kindness and inclusivity with the ugly details in the lawsuit. Then came the celebrity reactions that amplified the chaos. During a 2023 Renaissance World Tour stop, Beyoncé performed her Break My Soul Queens remix, a song that normally celebrates women in music, including Lizzo. But this time, fans noticed something missing. Beyoncé skipped Lizzo's name entirely while repeating Erykah Badu's instead. The internet erupted, taking it as a subtle but clear sign that even Beyoncé didn't want to be associated with Lizzo's scandal. Weeks later, Beyoncé reinstated Lizzo's name and shouted, "I love you, Lizzo," on stage. But the damage was done. That first omission said everything about how toxic the situation had become. Adding fuel to the fire, filmmaker Sophia Nali Allison stepped forward with her own disturbing account. She revealed she had once been hired to direct Lizzo's 2019 documentary, but quit after only 2 weeks, calling Lizzo arrogant, self-centered, and unkind. In her words, Lizzo was a narcissistic bully who built her brand on lies. This statement, coming from another woman in the industry, hit hard and added credibility to the dancer's claims. Soon after, the plaintiffs themselves appeared on CNN, sharing how terrified they felt while working for Lizzo. Ariana Davis said they endured it all out of fear of being fired, describing Lizzo as someone who held total power over their jobs. Their lawyer called it a power imbalance, arguing that her staff felt pressured to please her in every situation, even when it crossed boundaries. The combination of fan outrage, celebrity silence, and insider stories created the perfect storm. Lizzo's reputation, once untouchable, was suddenly in free fall, and as more people came forward, it became clear this wasn't just a PR nightmare, it was a reckoning. But even as the internet turned against her, not everyone walked away. Some people still stood firmly by Lizzo's side. As the dust settled, one thing became clear. The world was completely divided over Lizzo. On one side were her fiercest defenders, who refused to believe the accusations. On the other, her critics, who saw this as proof that the pop star's empowering image was nothing but a facade. Lizzo's supporters argued that the lawsuit was exaggerated, or worse, a calculated attempt to bring down a successful black woman at the top of her game. They flooded her comment sections with messages like, "Stay strong, queen," and "They always come for women who make history." Many pointed out that Lizzo had long been the target of online hate and body shaming, saying it was unfair to judge her based on a few bitter ex-employees. Some fans even started a counter hashtag, "We love you, Lizzo," insisting the truth would come out once the case hit court. Meanwhile, her critics, including some in the music industry, saw things very differently. To them, Lizzo's upbeat image was shattered. They claimed her brand of self-love and positivity was built on marketing, not authenticity. Commentators on social media accused her of gaslighting her fans, calling her a mean girl in a glitter suit. Others drew parallels to artists like Ellen DeGeneres, whose public image also crumbled after workplace misconduct claims. Adding fuel to the debate was Lizzo's own response. She took to Instagram with a defiant statement, saying the allegations were outrageous and too unbelievable to be true. She called herself a victim of false stories and insisted she'd never intentionally make anyone feel uncomfortable. While some fans praised her for standing tall, others thought the tone of her message was dismissive, like she was more worried about saving face than showing remorse. Celebrities also split down the middle. Artists like Kellis and Kathy Griffin spoke up in Lizzo's defense, saying she was being unfairly dragged, but others stayed silent, choosing not to associate themselves with the growing controversy. For a woman once celebrated for uniting people through music, Lizzo now found herself at the center of a cultural divide. Her defenders saw resilience, her detractors saw denial, and both sides were waiting for one thing, the truth. But the real test wasn't public opinion, it was what happened when Lizzo decided to fight back. When the backlash reached its peak, Lizzo finally broke her silence, and she didn't hold back. In a statement posted to Instagram, she called the accusations false, unbelievable, and too outrageous to be real. She claimed the lawsuit was sensationalized and filled with stories from people who had already been disciplined or let go for unprofessional behavior. "These stories are being twisted to make me look like a villain," she wrote. "But I know who I am." The post instantly went viral, with millions of likes and thousands of comments. Some fans praised her for standing her ground, while others felt her tone sounded defensive, even arrogant. She said she wouldn't let her good work and positive energy be destroyed by lies, but she never once directly addressed the disturbing allegations in the lawsuit. That silence, intentional or not, only fueled more speculation. A few weeks later, Lizzo doubled down. She hired powerhouse law firm Marty Singer & Associates, the same legal team used by stars like Johnny Depp and Kim Kardashian. Her lawyers immediately announced that Lizzo planned to countersue her former dancers for what they called malicious and fabricated claims. Singer released a statement saying the plaintiffs were attention seekers who had bragged about working with Lizzo even after leaving the tour. To prove it, he included text messages and behind-the-scenes clips of them celebrating performances and laughing with staff, painting a very different picture from the one in court documents. But this legal counterpunch didn't have the impact Lizzo might have hoped for. While her team insisted the evidence cleared her name, most of the public wasn't convinced. Critics pointed out that even if some details were exaggerated, the lawsuit had already done lasting damage to her brand. Her empowerment narrative, the one that built her career, was now under serious doubt. Entertainment outlets began describing the situation as a full-blown PR war, war, with both sides fighting for credibility. Lizzo's lawyers wanted to move fast to end the case quietly, but her former dancers weren't backing down. They called her countersuit a scare tactic meant to silence victims and promised to expose more behind-the-scenes evidence. For Lizzo, this wasn't just about clearing her name, it was about survival. The woman who once stood for confidence and kindness was now fighting to protect the empire built on that image. But even as the legal battle heated up, Lizzo faced a different kind of struggle, one that no lawyer could fix.
She was doing exactly the same thing that she was doing on tour. Immediately, that would be so many HR.
Just when Lizzo's legal team thought things couldn't get worse, new lawsuits started piling up, and this time, they went beyond her former dancers. In early 2024, a clothing designer who worked on Lizzo's tour costumes came forward, accusing the singer's management of harassment, discrimination, and unpaid labor. The designer claimed that toxic behavior was normalized within Lizzo's inner circle, reinforcing the narrative that her work environment had been chaotic for years. Not long after, yet another employee, a former tour staffer, alleged that she had faced verbal humiliation and was pressured into uncomfortable situations under Lizzo's watch. While Lizzo herself wasn't directly named as the abuser, her team's alleged behavior raised questions about how much she knew. The public began to wonder, was this all coincidence or a pattern? By mid-2024, Lizzo's reputation had taken a major hit. Major brands started to quietly distance themselves. A planned fashion collaboration was reportedly shelved, and her name was noticeably absent from a few key award show lineups. Even some radio stations scaled back airplay of her songs, citing image concerns. In response, Lizzo launched an aggressive damage control campaign. She began appearing on podcasts and talk shows, emphasizing self-growth and emotional healing. She hired a new PR team to shift the narrative, one that leaned heavily on her mental health journey and philanthropy. She also returned to social media with messages about reclaiming peace and focusing on love, carefully avoiding direct references to the lawsuits. Her core fans rallied behind her, but the broader public remained skeptical. Memes about her toxic positivity spread, and every new statement she made was dissected for hidden meaning. Meanwhile, legal experts warned that if any of the new allegations gained traction, Lizzo could face millions in damages and a permanent stain on her career. It was clear this wasn't just a PR issue anymore, it was a full-blown crisis. Lizzo's brand of confidence and empowerment had collided with real-world accountability, and as more voices came forward, it became harder to tell whether she could ever recover the reputation she once had. But as the lawsuits piled up and her empire began to crack, the biggest question still lingered. Was this the end of Lizzo's era? By the end of 2024, Lizzo's name no longer meant what it once did. The woman who built her empire on joy, confidence, and inclusivity now stood in the shadow of one of pop's biggest scandals. No matter how many awards she'd won or how many fans still defended her, the conversation had shifted from Lizzo the icon to Lizzo the accused. Her story became a symbol of irony and modern fame, a reminder of how quickly the image of empowerment can crumble when real-life behavior doesn't match the message. Fans who once saw her as the voice of body positivity began to question if that positivity was just branding. Headlines that once praised her boldness now debated whether she was another celebrity who failed to practice what she preached. Even her attempts at redemption, from emotional posts about mental health to public claims of innocence, couldn't erase the sense that something had permanently changed. The lawsuits and public fallout created an uncomfortable truth. Whether Lizzo was guilty or misunderstood, the damage was already done. The Truth Hurts singer found herself living the irony of her biggest hit, facing a truth she couldn't sing her way out of. Today, Lizzo remains caught between two realities, one where she's a victim of exaggerated claims, and another where her former dancer's pain exposed the darker side of stardom. Either way, the fallout reshaped how people see her. The glitter, the confidence, the message of love, all now viewed through a different lens. So the question lingers, can Lizzo ever reclaim her throne as a symbol of empowerment, or will this scandal forever mark the fall of an artist who once told the world to love themselves, while struggling to show that same love behind the scenes? The truth behind the tour left a stain even fame couldn't wash away.